Good morning. I've been up for about an hour. I was just sitting here contemplating this woman I fancy. So I'm talking to a girl. We're having a relationship. Nice. And it made me start thinking about things. Not necessarily anything inappropriate, you heathens. It made me realize that I am a chameleon. In every sense of the term, I'm a chameleon. Allow me to elaborate. I always think there's something in my beard. No, that's just gray hairs because I'm getting old. Anyway, I'm not a very dominant person. I am also not a submissive person. I'm just me, right? Because that's all I can be, is just myself. I'm just this woodsman guy, that born and raised in the countryside and, ended up in city life. Yada, 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 right? Well, that's the exciting part. And that's how I became a chameleon. Alright, so, a lot of people, I think, are chameleons, don't realize they're chameleons. Big Chungus, he is not a chameleon. He wants to go under the blanket and have a nest. He's downward dogging, and this is his butt cheeks. Anyway, aside from Chungus's butt cheeks, I'm home now. Cat's back. I found Cat. Cat was not present when I returned, and I was kind of concerned. Cat's here. Cat's fine. Cat must have just been really far away. It was pretty windy yesterday, so maybe he couldn't hear me. But I was sitting here and I was thinking about the girl that I'm kind of really into, right? She is a brat, a spitfire. She threatens to punch me in the face if I do certain things a lot. I think she would do it. I do not call that domestic violence. I call that I've been warned. Don't do the thing. But it brings me to I'm a chameleon. Because she likes to be submissive. Nice. If I knew how to be dominant. So, while I have the capability of doing so, just as I have the same capability of being submissive, if a woman were to take that lead, I just been winging it. I'm winging it. I just kind of, yeah. And I don't dislike it. No, I don't dislike being the dominant one in a relationship. But that's only, in a certain situation. Now, in the other half of the situation, well, I guess we can call it more than half, she's pretty fucking dominant. She'll blow my phone up 500 fucking times in the morning if I don't answer her. And my notification tone is Navi from The Legend of Zelda yelling, "Hey, listen!" And it's loud as fuck, and it will just keep going. It will. If I don't answer it fast enough, I'm gonna get a lot of those. Same, when I call, someone calls me, it's the Big Chungus song, so that's fine. But what I'm getting at here is I'm a chameleon because she thinks that I am romantically dominant in the way where I'm putting her in her place and she's going to be submissive to me. It's working, I think. I have brought up very hints, trying to be truthful with her about the situation. I'm not used to this. Not used to this at all. I'm also, I don't submit to anything or anyone, especially authority. That's why I've always had problems with anyone trying to tell me to do anything other than my mother. Mother says something, you fucking do. The point I'm getting at here is, I was thinking about this dynamic, you know. And I dropped the hints. I've told her. I was like, outside of us being alone, I don't care if you're the dominant one. Because she kind of is. And then I was like, wait a minute, I'm kind of noticing a trend here. We kind of trade places. Okay? I don't know what you'd call that because I'm not from that scene. But I started thinking, and, oh man, there was that one time where I first smoked pot. Chungus is now changelinging for some reason. It was like, you know, I just started smoking pot. I met a guy who was selling somebody pot for me. Like, so I would give somebody money, they'd run and they'd get the pot and they'd bring the pot back to me. And then this guy happened to just live right next door, and he came to the fence one day, and he does not look like a skateboarder, you know, or like an emo kid, or like a scene kid, nothing like that. A metalhead. No, this guy just kind of looked. I can't even really say he looked gangster, because he really didn't. He just looked like a dude that carried himself in a way. And he came up to the fence, and he was like, hey, you're so-and-so's so-and-so. And I was like, yes. And he goes, you're getting ripped off. And I went, but why are you telling me this information? And he goes, here's my number. You need weed, you contact me directly. Cool. So I started doing that quite frequently. Me and this dude started hanging out all the time. And he had good weed. And we became friends. I remember one day, me and like 20 skateboarders were all just having a time somewhere doing skateboard things. My little crew there, you know. And he chirped me on fucking the old Nextel Boost, you know, chirp talk. You know, it was like a walkie-talkie phone. It was pretty impressive, honestly. I really kind of missed that. But anyway, he was like, what are you doing? And I'm like, I'm hanging out with my bros. And he was like, come through? And I said, are you sure? And he said, yeah. Come through? He said it sounded like an airplane was landing on his street. Because, I mean, 20 skateboarders coming down a smooth road at full speed, there is sound to that. That is loud and carries. He could hear it coming. I remember he was just like, bruh. Well, as I became friends with this guy, I already knew by this time, the guy came from the hood, you know. He came from the hood, you know, he was that kind of character, you know. But alright, I'm a woodsman, nature boy, you know, I was raised in a duck boat, you know, whatever. Now I'm in a town. You know, I went from the countryside to a town. And now I'm best friends with, for lack of better words, a gangster, you know. Some hood guy, you know. And we were good friends for many years. But I didn't fit in. I didn't belong. Hell no. I remember one day smoking a blunt with a bunch of gangsters, and I was high as fuck. I had a neon green bandana headband on. I'm wearing skin tight jeans, like a super tight fucking band shirt. You know, all I had was a goatee at the time, because that's what I had back then. I was smoking this blunt. And I remember looking around the table. I'm surrounded by gangsters. I guess you can call them that. They weren't really gang related. They were just kind of like, you know, those people. They don't let people fuck with them. You know, they're. I don't know how to describe them, other than, you know, that way. I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all, by any means, because some of these people that I had met were pretty fucking cool, but they'll get you. They'll bite you on the ass if you ain't watching. But I'm clever enough and you know, whatever, that, you know. Well, I remember sitting at this table, and there was like a black guy over here, there was my buddy here, another buddy that I had met through that buddy over here, and there was like another black guy, and we're all like sitting at this table, and we're just passing these blunts around. I got super fucking high. And take in mind that all of these pants sagging, you know, nice shoes, fitted hat motherfuckers, all their expensive stuff, they all dressed very keen. But then you got me, and never once did any of them ever fuck with me or make fun of me or anything. Now, my first hood name, I guess you could call it, was Funny Pants, which I think is funny. Didn't bother me at all. I didn't take any offense to it. I wore funny pants. I wore skinny jeans. And once I started like getting one of them into skateboarding and stuff, and then and a couple of them started to understand the tight jeans. And I was like, yeah, see, supports the knees. You know. Anyway, I asked this black guy right next to me, this gangster guy. I'll never forget this story because it's the coolest fucking story of me being in like the ghetto, you know, like in the hood, you know, where I don't belong. I looked at him, high as fuck, handed him the blunt, and I said, "Why don't you make fun of me?" Well, and I gave him a look. I was like, "Why don't you make fun of me?" And he took a hit off the blunt, and then he looked at me, and he said the coolest fucking thing that I never expected to hear from some kind of gangster type person. He said, "Because you're not pretending to be somebody you're not." You know, light cigarette. Contemplate reality for a moment. Thanks, dude. You know, and then he brought up the comment about how, you know, you got these guys, these white guys that are running around with their pants sagging, they're acting like they're gangsters, and they have no idea about any of this shit. And then there's me and my skinny jeans, and I always carried a backpack around full of like survival equipment and shit, you know, like, oh, there was always a beverage in there, and like, you know, some tools, and so yeah, I ended up running around with these kind of people for a long time. Lots of crazy things have happened during those situations, which I will not divulge, because despite what some people currently are, like in the real world, are going on about, I have never betrayed anything that I've ever seen. I've never seen anything. But it continues. It continues to me hanging out with different cliques and different cultures, and me going into different places, and all these different things. And every time, I do not belong there. I do not know what I'm doing. But I figure it out real fucking fast, and I become a chameleon. Now, this still applies today. I have clothes that I can put on that nobody would even second glance and think that it's me. because everybody expects me to be wearing those black skinny jeans or something fucking crazy. Like I have some burgundy skinny jeans, whatever. They expect me to be wearing skinny jeans and skateboard shoes. You know, they expect me to have some kind of satchel. You know, my beard is recognizable. You know, my hairstyle, blah, blah, blah. I could throw a fucking hat on and shave my beard off and throw these clothes on, and I could walk right through a group of people. And as long as I, you know, don't draw attention to myself, you know, no one's gonna recognize me. No. Now the eyebrows and the eyes, you know, the facial structure, if it was a direct contact, yeah, I get it. But I'm a chameleon. It's like, I don't know if that's a bad thing or a good thing. I don't really think it's necessarily a good thing, but growing up, I was bullied. Horribly. Like, a lot. Strange motherfucker is what I was. My hair back in the day didn't go it didn't stay anywhere like you wanted it to. It went outwards. At one point in high school, I had an afro that was so big, I could touch doorways. I could feel the door frames. You know, I'm wearing my fucking Planet Earth, you know, brand cargo pants, you know, and like fucking this big ass, heavy, baggy, like Element skateboard t-shirt. You know, like, I was fucking, what the fuck was I? I don't know. But I always end up in a different clique or a different situation, and I could just immediately blend in like a chameleon. And in real life, I built ghillie suits, and I'm very, very, very sneaky. I mean, I can hide in the woods wearing this. This is got a pink ring on it. I mean, you think this would not be very good. Actually, this would blend in the fucking woods really fucking well if you know how to do it. But being a chameleon is just something that I've always had to do. Now I'm being a chameleon in a relationship that I am interested in genuinely, alright? It's like when I became a musician, right? I've been playing bass guitar since I was a kid, well, teenager, because all my buddies were like, we gotta make a band. Remember my first band name, Sweet Montage. And no, all of them, despite how much they were all, let's make a band. I was the only one that fucking ever took any of it seriously. They just show up at my house, I'd be sitting there fucking playing bass like all fucking day long, every day, just did it. And I did it for years. And then I ended up buying expensive equipment, which is now gone, but my girlfriend said that she's just gonna buy gear for me. She was like, I'm gonna buy you gear, like music gear, and you're gonna go back to playing music again. And I went, I swore I'd quit. When one of the closest people to me in my entire life, in a state of vulnerability on my end, he sold my instrument. The instrument that I played on stage every single fucking show for 6 years. Up and sold it. While I was in rehab, because they were calling me a drunk. And I said, fuck you. You know, I knew it was a pot calling the kettle black situation, but because they were all drunks too, just as drunk as I am, or just as much of a drunk as me, if not worse. I hand them the keys to my fucking convertible Ford Mustang, and they have access to my car and my gear. And what do? As soon as I end up in fucking rehab, they fucking sell all my shit. I can't afford to get that back. That's back when I was able to work, and I worked really hard. And I made good money, but I spent an entire fucking paycheck on just that instrument alone. Not even a pack of strings. I'm talking straight off the wall at a guitar center. 5-string Ibanez. Because I've been playing a 4-string my whole life. I was like, you know what? Fuck this. I'm gonna buy an instrument. And I play bass, so let me see this 5-string. And I wrapped my hand around the neck, and I could still choke the fucker. And I went, oh yeah, I can play the 5-string. And I fucked with it a little bit in the store. I was like, dude, I can play a 5-string. So I bought a 5-string. Never went back. Now, I did play a 4-string, like the cheapest fucking bass you could possibly get. A First Act. I did play one of those on stage as a headliner once. And I was embarrassed because I didn't have access to my guitar. My guitar was somewhere else at the time. And so I wrapped a bandana, because, like one of my headbands. I took one off and I wrapped it around the headstock so you couldn't read the word First Act on it. And when I got done with the show, I had other musicians that had played prior in the night running up to me, their bass players, going, bro, what is your setup? And I just started dying. I'm like, dude, I'm playing on a guitar amp that has a piece of wood screwed into the back of it so I don't blow it. Look, with a little port at the bottom to let some of the pressure out. So I basically am playing on a guitar amp that we got for like, I don't know, $50 from a pawn shop. It's mic'd in. Maybe they DI'd me. I got DI'd in a lot. I would request that if possible. If I knew the venue or I'd been to the venue a couple times. Sometimes not. I mean, I would always ask the sound guy, hey, can you just DI me? Like, direct line my bass into your system. They don't like doing that at a certain place anymore because they would always go, the bass is up all the way, right? And I'd be like, yep. And, you gotta test it. Alright, you're good. And in the middle of the fucking set, I turn that knob, and the building rattles. And the sound guy's like, motherfucker. I knew it. I've done it to the same sound guy multiple times. I apologize to that sound guy if for some reason he ever hears of this video. It's at a place called the Music Factory in Battle Creek. I was always drunk. Drunk as a skunk. But the fun part was no one ever complained. I never had a bad set, I always had a lot of fun. People still hit me up to this day asking me if I'll play for them. But that's the thing, is you just be a chameleon. Because you know what? I did not know how to play the bass. Do I know how to play the bass? Alright, I know that the low side of the strings are the ones that are up, right? I know that my 5-string was B-E-A-D-G strings. I didn't know how to tune things. I just kind of listened to it and just went, that sounds fine. My band bought me a cab, like big ass fucking cab and a head. Like, I had like the actual like professional type shit. Like, I can make some noise. Did I know how to do any of that? No. I would just listen. Oh, that's fine. That sounds fine to me. And then when I joined that rap duo, and I was like, there's like 2 rappers, a black guy and a white guy, and they're like rapping, and they have like a beat, like pre-recorded, playing through, computer, and I'm the only live instrument. A 5-string bass that's tuned to whatever the fuck that was. I knew how to make what sound, because I've been playing for so long. I know that the higher toward the headstock I go, the lower the note's going to be. And if I want to make a higher sound, I just drop strings. So I've memorized the locations to do sounds. But did I ever actually know how to play the bass? No. And I literally would make jokes all the time to other musicians because my band would headline a show or something, and people would ask me questions, and I just look at them and go, bro, I got no fucking idea. None. No idea. Or they'd be like, dude, you're fucking great. No, I'm not. I fucking suck. I don't know what I'm doing. But that goes back into being a chameleon. Now I'm being a chameleon again. I don't know really what I'm doing. I like the girl so much, and I do enjoy our dynamic. I just don't know. Cat has returned, by the way. Cat was lost, but now Cat has been found. But yeah. I don't know, this was a rant about being a chameleon. Because it kind of, it is. Like, you can change your style. You know what I mean? You could change your appearance. You can change your mannerisms, the way you talk, your terminology. You can change the way you act. That can't be a healthy thing, right? That's gotta be like a form of narcissism or something, isn't it? I don't know, I'm not a psychiatrist or psychologist. All I know is I take my pills, I smoke my cigarettes, and I drink my coffee, and everything else can leave me the fuck alone. But yeah, she wants me to get back into music. She was like, I'll buy your music. I'm like, no you won't. She's like, yeah I will. I'm like, you are a bastard. Because if that happens, that means I have to play music again. And I'm getting older, and my hands don't even like to work anymore. Thank you for rubbing your teeth on my nose. Yeah, you had to do it again just for good measure. Cat. I'm glad you're okay. Anyway, this has been a stupid video. Roughly, again, another fucking half hour. Where I rant about being a chameleon. Yeah. All I gotta say is, unless you have whatever issue I have that allows me to do this, because it's clearly, like, the more I think about it, the more unhealthy I think it is. Or maybe it's just adaptation. Like, maybe I'm just developing an adaptation to, like, a scenario. Maybe that's what is happening. I don't know. But anyway, stupid video. I was just thinking about that. I was just... Chameleon. Alright, well, I'm gonna... see if my coffee's still too hot to drink, but we're going to do it anyway. Remember, fascism bad. That comes from German. Fascism bad. Fight fascism. Don't lick boots. I don't care how good the leather tastes. Stay safe. The world's fucked. It's only going to get more fucked before it unfucks itself, or it's just going to continue on a never-ending cycle of a fuckery. Well, I guess that's wisdom. Be yourself. And Don't let anybody else ever tell you otherwise. If you like doing something, fucking do it. If you want to be with somebody, fucking be with them. If they like something, and you can provide it in a way that's adequate enough for them to take enjoyment. Anyway, it's the Gray Squirrel, Charles Ninja, Gray Mare, Charles, whatever the fuck you want to call me. And I am going to try and figure out what to do with the rest of my fucking morning. Yeah. Farewell.